Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are here to talk about the books that I read in the month of August. I didn't get as much reading as I wanted to done this month, but I still had some good ones, so let's jump right in. The first book that I read in August was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Bradbury. This is about a carnival that comes into town and two young boys who want to see what it's about, and it's weird and it's creepy and it's an evil carnival. I gave this book, what did I give it? 3.5, I think? 3. I gave it a 3-star. Because I think that Bradbury has a wonderful writing style. I really enjoy the way that he writes, which is why I think I really love Fahrenheit 451, but this just didn't pack as much punch for me, and I still think that it was a silly, goofy, fun time. If you want to see my live reading reactions and more in-depth thoughts, check out my What I Got from the Fair reading vlog. I got this book at the county fair. So, yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's fun to just pick up a random book that you've never heard of and read it sometimes. Just like the old-fashioned way. So yeah, that's the first book I read. Then I read The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. And this book is about basically this library that resides in hell where unwritten, unfinished books reside. And sometimes the characters from those books get really antsy and escape, and it's up to the librarians to keep the characters in the libraries in the books. And so at the beginning of this book, one of the characters escapes the library, and you're following the librarian and her assistant and a demon who goes with her to try and get this character back, and then it kind of goes from there, and there's a larger thing happening that they discover. I thought this book was really fun. I enjoyed reading it. I gave it 4 stars. It's not a perfect book. The main character was a little bit annoying, but I thought it was interesting how I think the author made her very realistic in the sense that she's a real person who has flaws and didn't hold back from kind of showing those flaws and why she is where she is. And so I thought that was interesting, and her relationship with some of the other characters was really interesting. So yeah, overall I think it was a fun book. It's kind of a silly concept, like this library in hell, but I think that it wasn't scary or anything. And I think that it was fun. I'm not going to be reading on in the series. This is a series, but you could read the first book. Totally, I think, works as a standalone. So yeah, I would definitely check it out. I think that it was very fun. Good old adventure-y time. The next book that I read was significantly less fun, and that was The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I also read this in a reading vlog, the What Color Reader Am I quiz. I took recommendations from it, and then I read those books, and this was one of them. And it is incredibly sad. So in this book you are following a father and a son who are trying to survive this post-apocalyptic type situation. It never tells you exactly what happened, but you know that the air isn't super safe for them to breathe. They have to wear masks. And there are people who, if they find them, will take them into slavery or kill them. And so you are following them as they're journeying along this road and trying to make it south. And it's not very action-packed, but it's very reflective, and it's very like just kind of this insular story of this father and son, and explores the questions of like what a father will do for his son, what he's willing to do, what he's willing to risk or not risk, and at what point is it worth going on, basically. So this book is extremely sad, and there are some very graphic, sad scenes in it, so I will put that out as a warning for you, and some of them do involve babies and children, which is always difficult for me to read, and so definitely, if that's something that's hard for you to read, maybe don't pick this one up, or, you know, look into some of those content warnings. My favorite place to look at content warnings is Storygraph. They have, basically, in every book, there's a little section where you can click content warnings, and people put them in, and it will have a list of, like, what warnings there are, and if they're graphic, or if they're, like, not that bad. So that's my favorite way to check kind of what content warnings are in a book. So if you're like, I want to know what content warnings, but I don't know how to check, that's my favorite way to check. I found that they have a great interface for that. So yeah, The Road was, I mean, I think it's a modern classic for a reason, and I think it's a great reflection on fatherhood and parenthood in general, and what you would do for your kids, and what would you do in this awful situation where everything has changed and surviving is a lot harder. So that's a fantastic but very sad read. And then the next one that I read was To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. This is a novella, and it is about a space crew that is exploring some planets, taking samples, doing research, and basically their communication with Earth is like 8 years off because of the amount of time it takes for the communication to travel. So because the communication is delayed, they kind of just choose not to listen to it for a while. And then when they do, it kind of seems like things back on Earth might be much different than the way they left them. And this is also kind of a more insular, thought-provoking story. It's a lot about the relationships of the people on board and how each of them kind of copes with the idea of the Earth being totally different from how they left it, and if the people who sent them on this mission are gone or things have completely fallen apart, do they still do the mission the way that they set out to do it? And so I thought that was really good. It's very science heavy, which I really enjoyed. I thought that it was very thought-provoking, and it just gave that sci-fi feeling that I absolutely love. Okay, sorry, I got interrupted by my husband, but this book talks a lot about, it just kind of has that idea of, this kind of sci-fi idea of exploration and not disturbing the planets that they're going to. They really don't want to make any impact on, or as little impact as they possibly can with their research. They want to see what's happening, they want to do their research, and they want to get out, and they don't want to hurt or impact anything that they come into contact with on these planets. And so I really enjoy that. It's just something that I've always loved. It pulls at my Star Trek fan heart. You know what I mean? So that was To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. And then the last book that I read was a graphic novel called The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. I gave this book a 3.5. It's basically about this woman who is a moth keeper. She's training to be a moth keeper, and basically what that means is that the moon goddess has blessed them with this plant, and when it blooms, it gives them like the pollen or whatever from the blossoms they can make medicine with and like do all sorts of things with. It's very helpful. And the moths are what pollinate it. So they're like these moon moths, I guess. And so the moth keeper's job is to keep the moths, keep them happy, and take care of them and make sure they're there for when the plant is blossoming so that they can pollinate and get in there and do what they need to do. And our main character is kind of just feels very alone, and so it's kind of a lot about the internal struggles of feeling alone, feeling like, you know, am I making an impact? Am I doing anything for my community or for the people around me? And I thought the artwork in it was very pretty, and I liked the concept of there's like the nighttime people who worship the moon goddess and have this plant, and then there's also like a daytime village, and they both like live in the same place, and some people are just out during the day and some people are out at night, and they're just like, they don't talk to each other. I thought that it was an interesting concept, and I haven't read a graphic novel in a while, so I thought that it would be fun to dive into a graphic novel. I do enjoy graphic novels, but I feel like I have a much harder time finding them, like in terms of which ones I want to read and discerning like if I'm going to like it or not. I think I just have much more practice with regular novels of knowing what I'm interested in and what I'm not interested in. And so with graphic novels, I have a harder time. And I think that's why a lot of graphic novels end up being like 3 stars or 3.5 stars, where it's not a bad rating by any means, but it's just kind of like, this was good. I don't have any other thoughts. Like, it's, you know, yeah. So that's something that I think I need to practice at a little bit more. I think that's the only way to know like really what graphic novels I love, is just to keep reading them and finding more. So if you have any graphic novels like recommendations for me, let me know, because I am interested in reading more of them. I think it's always really fun to look at the art, and I have a lot of respect for graphic novelists because they put so much into the artwork and they're so beautiful. So yeah, that was The Moth Keeper. Probably I'm not going to think about that again. But it was a fun little read. I couldn't sleep. and my husband had already fallen asleep, so I was like, let me just read a graphic novel really quick on my phone. I got it from Libby. So those were the books that I read in the month of August. Let me know, what was your favorite book that you read this month? I am really hoping to read more in September. I'm about halfway through a memory called Empire by, who's by? Arcady Martin? And I need to finish it because I'm gonna forget what's happening. And I have, like, all of my holds are coming off of the library at the same time, and I'm so stressed. I'm like, I have to read, I need to read. So yeah, I'm hoping to read a lot more in September. Let me know what your September reading plans are. What was your favorite book in August? And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!